Right. Thank you for coming. Um, Today we're going to be examining a very good aspect of data governance, and this is basically going to be data architecture. Data architecture. Okay. Right. When we mention the word architecture, what comes to your mind? I want everyone to be talking, involved. When you hear the word architecture, what comes to your mind? What comes to your mind? Okay. What comes to your mind when you hear the word architecture? Have you seen an architect before?
Yes.
Good. What does architect do?
Architecture is to do with the buildings. They design buildings.
Okay. Oh, what do you agree? Ramson, do you agree?
Yes, sir. They construct the design and they design and construct the building. I think that's what they do.
Architects, eh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Paul. Or do you agree?
Architecture, I don't know what it says. Architecture has to do with the design and the framework of buildings.
Yeah, I love that framework. Okay. Right. So if we now talk about data architecture, what does that mean?
The construction and design of data.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, Paul. Yeah. Okay. Now, basically, we're dealing with the structural overview of data governance. So, data architecture is actually a blueprint, okay, for managing data assets. You know, and also align the same in their collection in terms of storage integration and also use them with the organizational goal. So more or less align the management of the asset with the enterprise strategic goals. So it ensures data is accurate, accessible, secure, and scalable. So those things are very, very important. Okay, right? So yeah, so it's very important. So always remember, um, architect is someone who will bring a framework or more or less a structure in place with respect to what expectation is. Okay, now let me try to share. Tell me if you are seeing what I'm sharing.
Yes.
Good. Good. Thank you. I need to move this up. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, data architecture actually means mastering the blueprint of success from the raw data to, to where it's being used finally. So there are principles of modeling, warehousing, and integration. So very important. We know how data governance program is being built and designed. So an introduction to it is just your data architect serve as a blueprint, as I said, for success. It is a foundational, structure that requires you to shape how data are collected, stored, and also used in order to value the data asset. So it requires a landscape and that need to be put down by the data governance program and must be understood and also have an implementation in terms of the core principles of data architecture. This really requires data modeling, warehousing, and putting data together in order to have a unified usefulness. Okay, so I want you to know that is a foundational structure. So how do we have? They have different components of data, architecture. One of it is the power of the data architecture itself. So one of it is data modeling. Now, do you know how to model something? Have you ever modeled anything before? Have you done mind mapping before? Do you know the concept of mind mapping?
No, sir, I haven't done it before, sir.
Okay, it's a very, very good concept. So if you have a concept and put it in the middle, and you begin to say, okay, for example, let's see, if you want to cook food, do you know cake?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Have you eaten cake before?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Bake cake all the time, sir.
Have you baked cake before?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now if you draw a circle in the middle, say making cake, and then you need to, the first thing you will do in making cake is what?
Get
Mix.
all your ingredients.
Ingredients. So is the ingredient first of all, or planning?
Oh, well, you have to
Yes, the
plan
same as
first.
planning, sir.
You have to plan, okay?
Decide
Then
what kind of cake you
where
want
you
to
plan,
bake.
you have, okay, then type, put another corner, there's type, then
The
the other
purpose,
side,
is it
the
for
purpose,
a
okay, this
child?
one.
Is it
So
for a
now,
wedding?
thank you.
Yeah.
So in the plan, you can say plan what? Ingredient. Plan what?
Like
People,
color.
resources. Then the color can come. So what happened is that mind mapping is actually structuring how things are being done. Your concept can come into place. So you are more or less having a foundational structure how you can put that concept into place. Okay, so and it requires modeling. So at the core of data architecture lies data modeling. That modeling is a key aspect. It's a fundamental aspect of the data architecture. So what does it is a process of defining structure of your data. Now, in any enterprise, there is always a organizational structure, okay? And more or less another word, organogram. So that requires where, the accountability is going to be flowing and also responsibility going to be, adhered to. So on that basis, authority can cascade from the top to the bottom, and while just bottom up, kind of a lot of responsibility, some of the whole position of accountability as well. So that is just the case of this, it has to be like well structure of how data can, be taken care of. So it helps enterprise to create a very clear and organized representation of their data assets being managed. Okay, for instance, in an e-commerce platform, data model defines how product information, customer data, and other history are structured and related. So when you go to online or you go to a shop, do you get product information?
Sometimes.
So do you buy product without knowing the information about the product?
Well, if it's something that you do, if it's a product you get regularly, a lot of times you just tend to pick it up blindly from the shelf.
No, but okay, you're talking about regularly before you started for the first time. Do you get information about it?
Yes.
Okay. So the information, you also have customer data, or like, how many people have kind of, give, maybe how many people have bought this, have given a rating of 5 stars and different stars. Have you done that before?
Yes, a lot of times you want to buy well, for me, if I want to buy something online, the first thing I do is look at the review of that product. If the review is from customers, I look at the number of customers, I look at the stars they've given it, the rating. And then before I start looking at other things, like probably if it's a dress, maybe you want to make it 100% cotton or something. So you look at all that before deciding you want to go for that product. And then
Okay.
you look at, sometimes you also look at the sizing, because the various shops have their different sizing. So what could be a size 2 in one shop could be a size 2.5 in a different shop. So you look at all that information.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. So what about like other history? How can it be structured and related? What can you say about that?
If we're talking about the history now, well, history will be how regularly do people buy it, and also I don't know if the history too is when it was actually made.
Okay,
We
for
decide.
example, put yourself in a position of a data governance manager in a corporation, not as a customer right now.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you talk about other history and how to structure and related to what the product is, what would you say?
So if it's other history, okay, sorry, I just looked at this. Now, if it's other history, how many of them have been ordered in the past 1 week? That's a part of the history. What purpose has it served under their reviews? You can also look at that as a data governance manager. And also, if it's something there's been complaints about, you can also look at that too. So I don't know if all that comes under the history what looking at.
Okay. Anybody here? Because I'll ask another question after that. Anybody? Okay. For example, if have you bought something before that, or have you glanced through a product before? Then in the next 2 days in your mobile phone, you receive a text message or in your email, you saw a message sent to you, kind of flashing the product you have browsed yesterday or maybe bought a few days ago.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes up like in shops like Argos, or when you go into your account, if you got an account with them, it shows up the history of products you have ordered in the past.
Great. Ramsey, have you seen that before, Paul?
Yes, sir. Sometimes, even if you're talking about something that you want to buy, it pops up.
Okay. What happened is they are using algorithms to analyze who has come in here and who has bought that before, or that history. If you keep on buying one thing all the time, that thing will be flashing in. Why? Because you have a history of such. And also, like, if you talk about data of insurance, and they know that you have browsed for an insurance before, or you got a code that you never accepted before, they already know that your car insurance is almost going, and you know that's not your primary insurance, company. So other company you have used before a specific time, you already have a record that your company, your car insurance is expiring. So you'll be seeing something coming to you. Why? Because they have kind of seen people have an order in terms of sourcing for insurance. So some people, some company already have, your history of insurance. So if you purchase any particular, um, product, and the timing of that product probably coming to an end, you may receive um, kind of information that your car insurance or other products, you may want it at all again. So they look at your history of purchase, and that's what they it's algorithm they use, and that comes as a result of model how you structure uh, your data right from the one. So I'm just using an example of e-commerce platform like CRM. Okay, very, very important. The customer, a relation management system. Okay. But we also have data warehousing. When you hear the word warehousing, what comes to your mind? When you hear the word warehousing, what comes to your mind?
Storage, place where things are stored.
Storage. Yeah. Any other person?
Organization.
Organization. Yeah. Another person?
So a place where things are distributed from, for example, Amazon can
Yeah.
have warehouses.
Yeah.
A place where things are normally packed and shipped from.
Yeah.
They also have inventory in those kind of places. Some
Yeah.
sort of inventory where they track products and all that. Or it could just be a temporary. It could be a temporary place where products are put and then shipped off in the next 1 or 2 hours.
Okay, that's a very good example. Yeah. Another person? Yeah. Another person? Who else again?
Warehouse is storage where goods are stored. That's the.
It's your fault. It's your fault, Charlie.
Okay, oh boy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. That's very good. Yeah, that's very good. But I want you to understand that warehousing is the art of designing. You design, and you also build repositories. Repositories is where data are being put in order, well organized, and that you can, so that they can be well stored in a place. So it can be alphabetical. It could be in a well classified. in a specific format, so that when you're looking for a data that start with John Smith or John, you see the J, you know where they are. If you are looking for data that start with Noma, you see where you go to N, you see where they are, NO, just like that. So it is actually a way, structure for for data to be effectively and efficiently stored, well organized, as Paul said as well, and well managed for greater analysis and reporting. So especially when you are doing ETL or ELT, if you get the data from the warehouse where they are well organized, you can easily do the data analysis of it. So for example, in the retail industry, a data warehouse consolidates what? Data from various sources such as sales, inventory, customer information, providing holistic view of for decision making. So if what you do when you carry out inventory,
I think I think inventory should mean taking a list of every goods that is in the warehouse, checking to see with the quantity of whichever is related.
so we are talking about warehousing, I see. So there's a data there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Good. So, and that data you carry, you looking, checking properly, they have price. Is that
Yes.
correct? Good.
Yes, sir.
So when you see the quantity of specific product or raw materials or data wise in terms of numerical and attached to each of the product price, so you will know how many have been sold or not. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good. So now that data warehouse has a information with respect to sales, inventory, and customer information. Probably, if you design, if you have a proper architectural design with respect to data warehousing, you'll be able to capture how many people bought those material from how many remaining, invariably talking about the demographic of the same people that have purchased those products, product or raw material. Like just in this time, we just talk about, items. It could be raw, it could be products itself. So now that warehouse will contain how many we have, how many we had it before, how many we have now, and with the design, you'll be able to know how many that has been purchased, who purchased what, and what is the sales volume for each of them. And invariably, if you design it very, very well, you'll be able to talk about the seasoning or the timing where those things were bought. How many were bought in winter? How many were bought in summer? And even, do you know that even in summer, people say, some companies say winter coat. So how many people bought winter coat from during summer? All those things are data that you can easily capture when you have a well-designed architecture with respect to data warehousing. So it helps you to carry out your analysis and visualize what you want to do and write a report to that effect, which we help, in most cases, the business analyst to also have a domain to which
Forecast.
you can
And
take
also
this.
for forecasting in the future.
Yeah, that is when you want to do analytics. When we get there, we're also going to talk about this. When you want to do analytics, in most cases with that. For example, if you want to do analytics, which kind of analytics will you do in this data warehouse? Is it going to be prescriptive, or is it going to be
Descriptive.
Descriptive. Why is it descriptive?
Because it can tell us the history and what we need to know for the future.
Absolutely, so absolutely, because with the data available, you'll be able to do descriptive because of data already made available in their domain. So, and also you can unify, you can also import more data to validate whether those descriptive data is still much value with respect to timing or you know, some contemporary issues that are always arising each day. It could be as a result of maybe COVID-19 or other things that may come that may negate the existing data you have in your database. Okay? Very important. Okay, thank you. All right, any question on data warehousing? Okay, if you can ask any question on data warehousing, just trust me, I will be asking more questions. I welcome Dr. Vai and Blessed Vai. Okay, we have data integration as one of the most powerful aspects of architecture. Please take note of this aspect of the training. Very, very important, because you're going to be meeting this all the time when you are employed. And that's why you see me some areas I cannot highlight them very well. So data integration, if you are asked, what does integration mean? So what would you say?
Combining data.
Combining data. Any other person? I mean,
From multiple, it could be from multiple sources, sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other person?
Integration is combining data from different sources and making them make sense as a single entity.
Appreciate. I love that, Paul. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Good to know that. Okay. So in this context now, data integration is a bridge that connecting different kind of data sources to provide a unified and consistent view. So it's very, very important. Unify a consistent view. So, and when you're going to be using Power BI, you're going to see how data are being integrated. Okay, you can get data from websites or from internet. You can get from your Excel. You can get from different databases, and then you unify them together, and then you carry out, you know, how they should be looked into, so that they should be consistently well viewed. So this ensures that data flows seamlessly within the enterprise. For instance, we have a healthcare institution. Data integration enables the correlation of patients' record, the lab results, bringing them together, and billing data to provide what? The comprehensive care that it requires of the patient care. So, have you been to like a doctor before asking for your records?
Yes.
If you go to lab, for example, when the lab result like a blood test, and your GP will send you to lab, and the lab result will come. And when the lab result, where do you get it from? It's your GP, not the lab itself. So where depends on how things are structured anyway. In United States of Africa, in a country called Nigeria, where you can just get your result from the lab.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
So in this place, when the doctor, general practice sent you down to go to lab, they don't give you result in the lab. They sent it straight to because that is their best practice. Okay, to your GP will tell you what the result is. So then also it will help them to know how to appropriate the right prescription that is suitable for the patient itself. So it brings in too much data from different data sets, bringing them together, and we're consistent in a way that it will it will make sense for usefulness. Okay, so has anybody got any example to give?
Yes, and financial, that's the same thing as financial services.
Yeah.
They integrate data from customers' data and all that, and then they also look at their, could also look at the risk management part of it. Is this a customer worthy to be given credit or not?
Right.
So they look at transaction history, they look at
Mhm.
everything about that person, and then decide, let's bring it all together, and then based on that, can we give that, is that person credit worthy or not?
Right.
So it's like the example you gave about the insurance. Sometimes you've had insurance here, you've had insurance there, you have content, you have home. Some of them, they just bring, you find that it's the same insurance people who are probably giving you, because I've had that experience before where I left one insurance and said, let me go to the next one. And then I was going on the internet and I found that it's the same body that owns this various insurance this thing. So I just left one. I went to another one under the same umbrella.
Mm.
It was quite, because one gave me a different insurance price. Then the other one gave me slightly lower. So I was happy to go with that one. And I told this other one I was leaving, only for me to find out later that it's even the same people who own it.
Yeah, happens. Yeah. Another person with a different example? Another person with a different example?
Well, hello, Pastor.
I can hear you.
Yes, sir. Speaking about insurance, I just finished work. What
Okay.
Madam was talking about is what we call fleet insurance,
Okay.
whereby it's more like a chain of, it's a way of cutting costs anyway. It's a new logic of doing business these days when it comes to insurance. Because cost of insurance can be quite big, and that's another way of them breaking it down and still making profit out of it or maximizing profits.
Okay.
Mm. That's where brokers come in.
Okay. Another person?
Another example, probably in the I would say in the manufacturing industry,
Yeah.
you could have the supply chain data,
Mhm.
and then you could have production.
Yeah.
You could also have inventory levels. So they bring all this data
Mhm.
together, and then based on all what they have, they can decide how much the cost of that product they're or manufacturing will be.
Okay. Thank
So
you so much.
they take data from the supply people, take
Mm.
data from different inventory levels. That's the history, and then they look at the production, like we're talking about summer and winter clothes earlier on. They can
Okay.
decide, is it worthwhile we produce more winter clothes? Is it worthwhile we produce more jeans because the population we're looking at, the data we're looking at is of a younger population? Or do
Mm.
we go for older folks because where the company is based is more retired folks living there? So based on that, they decide they can use that to make financial decisions.
Absolutely. So the key,
Pastor,
yeah.
Pastor, if I may again, there's this thing that goes on while data is quite valuable is for instance, if you are applying for let's just say you're applying for car insurance, or you're applying for home, or you're applying to buy a home. You'll
Yeah.
be so surprised that different companies will start approaching you by email link. That is because the data you gave out that you're actually looking for this item or service is being shared on a general database, which by practice is allowed for others to copy and
That's
see
why
who it fits. Yes.
that is
So
when
before
you
you know, you'll be
sign.
wondering, how did you know I'm looking for this? And you see multiple people calling you and trying to lawyer and give you the best deal, or trying to charm you into taking their own deal towards what you want.
I
So it's
understand.
a,
I
yeah,
think I think that one when probably you sign a contract which you didn't
exactly. Yeah.
read it properly, that third party will be involved in this.
Anyway, the FCA deems that fit for practice in the sense of sharing that data. It's to your own advantage that way, because with so many companies come at you, you can now, through the informed information they give you, you'll be able to see, okay, where you fit in and what you like and what you don't like. So it's kind of like a competition. So you giving out your data out there that this is what you want, you just put yourself like a price, and everybody wants to win.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to explain is called customer 360-degree view. What
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, what I mean is that you combine like customer relation management data, which is, for
Mm-hmm.
example, Salesforce, and a marketing platform like, Marketo, company support system, which there is a system called like a Zbest in some
Mm-hmm.
company. Yeah, and a financial tools like a NetSuite. So when you have those one together, there's no way your data will be flying. So it creates those systems kind of put together. They create a unified customer profile,
Mm-hmm.
and this enable uh, personalized marketing campaigns and improve also customer satisfaction by analyzing interactions across touch point of many of any person's profile and data. So that's definitely because as a result of the ETL and ELT pipelines you use to
Mm-hmm.
as a API-based integration to synchronize data in a real time or batches. People pick it up. People already pick up. If your hands up.
No, I was going to talk about what about the ones where there's no real structure in place, but yet the wool keeps being pulled over the same people's eyes over and over. For example,
No,
CPEX.
there's a limited time, madam.
No,
You
no,
can
not
remember
that.
there's a limited time they can keep data.
Not even that one. I'm not even talking about that one.
Yeah,
I'm talking about a totally different form of data integration where the same people keep falling for the same scam over and over and over again because
Mm.
these people
we,
target
we
those
just
same
we just
people
pray we just pray
and they
that
keep
those
falling
people
for the
should not
same
be caught.
and they keep falling for the same scam over and over again.
Yeah, we have key principles that we must keep in data collection and how we're going to use them. When we come to collection of data, we know those policies has to come to place. You must not collect data without the express consent of who the owner of the data, and without telling the person how long you're going to keep the data for. So most cases, some people have signed documents which they never read very well. You know what they want to do, they just want to get what they want to get, and the small contract note that they need to read, the words might be very, very tiny that they need glasses. Maybe they don't really have their glasses there to read. They just say approve, accept, and then you don't know that one of those things inside might be that your data will be transferred to third party.
Party,
And then,
yes.
yeah, so when you are being contacted, then you think, why this person contacted me? You don't know what you have signed, by just pressing because you just want to get the phone, you want to get the document, you want to get this thing right. So these are
Mm.
things. So don't forget
But,
that these
but
people are
Pastor, is this data being passed? Are they being paid?
Of
Do they make
course.
money off it?
Oh yes, now that well,
Okay,
okay.
so now I see the logical reason where there's a lot of scribbling words when it comes to contracts, whatever,
Yeah,
but they not say
even
approve.
if they want to
It's
use
so much
voice,
that it will frustrate you to read, and you
yes.
just say, okay, I beg, let me just skip it and just say, okay, I agree.
That's good. Yeah. So even
Hmm.
sometime if you look at the advertisement, they're talking about data. They're talking about something. It's about information they're passing, and they will be saying very loud, very fast so that you will never hear properly. So you have to be.
Have you not heard the expression that if you want to scam a black man, just keep it hidden in a book? They will never open it
Yeah.
to read.
But it's quite scandalous because they know people don't have the time to be reading. Imagine you going online and looking for something to buy, maybe an insurance or life insurance or whatever it is. Maybe you're after work, you just need to sort out your mortgage or whatever it is. And the time you come back from work is 8 o'clock. Okay, you went online because these services are online 24/7, they're digital. And at the end of it all, there's so many words you have to read, and just for you to come down to agree. You wouldn't, as long as you've seen the services they are offering and you are okay with it, you won't want to go through the fact that, okay, among those scribblings that they've written there, there's a part where it says, okay, we are going to pass, and they're going to make money off you by passing your details over,
Of course, because
which is very, very bad. I wish the FCA can look into that. That's just a gimmick.
apart from FCA is not the main thing regulating data. So do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know one company called? Is it Bookface or Facebook?
Facebook, yeah.
Okay.
Facebook.
Okay. So, do you know that when you sign on Facebook, do you pay money?
No, we don't.
So, what do you think that make Facebook to be even the owner to be the second richest man in the world?
Oh, because he's selling data, obviously.
So that's what we're talking about now. So it's not an easy thing. They can lose billions of money if they say their Facebook
Okay,
or
I'm
WhatsApp.
actually wrong by saying we're not paying. We're paying through our data that we use to access their system, to upload our information.
There are a lot of payment that people do because
Now
that's
we're
why
making payments to them, sir.
even I cannot stop because this is a digital world, and what
Mhm.
the digital world is just data. So if we don't get it right, it will be wrong. So, and that's why people are just getting to get it out in order to get their business going. And very important. So it need to be managed, it need to be governed. It's the new OA. Okay? Let's move to the next principles. Principles of data architecture. Number one, very important, data standardization. Okay? Now, when you hear standardization, what comes to your mind? When you hear the word standardization, what comes to your mind?
That should be the format of the data itself.
Yeah, that's good. Another person?
That the data needs to be consistent.
Yeah. Another person?
Must be easily integrated, like we're talking about just now.
Yeah. Okay. I want you to understand, thank you so much for two of you that I want you to understand that businesses have a lot of data, businesses all over the world, globally. So it is important to standardize the data to use it effectively. And first, look at the type of data you have and also how it is currently organized. And it is all in one place or what? If it's not in one place, how can we do that? So I want you to understand standardization of data is fundamental for preparing data for further processing and analysis, including harmonization of data and normalization effort that you need to carry out. The purpose is just to create a situation whereby you'll be able to find things very, very easy in your quest to make a very have the integrity of data. So it is so critical. It's a critical process indeed that transform data from various sources into a consistent format, as one of you said, and actually enhancing clarity, concise and precise, accessibility, and also the value of the asset himself. So what it offers in most cases as a key benefit, you just have to have with it, you can have a streamlining, data integration together. Because if you don't standardize it, integration cannot easily take place. It also helps in enhancing analytical precision when you're going to do, ETL or ELT in your data analysis. You'll be able to see how data need to be precise in terms of standardization, and also increasing data quality, of course, of which the main purpose is to just make sure there is data quality, and it will reduce your cost if you standardize format and data in the beginning as part of your design when you are doing data architecture, and it helps in ensuring regulatory compliance, and you also avoid risk concern, or if you detail it so much in your design, it will also help you in risk mitigation. So it's very important that you standardize. For example, if you standardize data that every names must be in a format of first name, middle name, surname. So, and every name that comes in will always gonna be that way. So it will help in your quality of data. And if there's a name that comes with surname first, then there will be a lot, especially when you have data quality initiative put together by standardization as well. And then you ultimate it that this is what happens. So if anybody writes surname first, it will give you a lot, or date of birth. Some we write date of birth as the date, the month, and the year. But when somebody first of all writing year, then there will be a lot, because that's not in that format as standardized. So can someone give me another example of data standardization? Yeah, someone put something on it. Yeah.
With a lot of email addresses in a lot of companies, they use first name, then surname, then at whatever the company's name is, .org, .uk, or .com. So that's the standard format for all the email addresses in the particular organization. So anyone that's auto word has to be looked at, because if anyone is searching for you in that company, what they will put first is your surname, or they'll put your name first. That will automatically bring it up. So if your name is not, say for example, your name is John Smith, and they happen to put you down as Smith John, if someone is looking for you in that organization, because the standard format is first name before surname, they will put in John. And then when they can't find any John, they will start wondering why your email address, your name is not conforming to that particular format.
That's correct. That's correct. Thank you so much. Okay.
And then in the for most GP practice, you give your name, but a lot of times they use the date of birth as day, month, then year to look for people. Then they'll use your first name, and so but the date of birth is always to their conformed standard. Day first, month, and then year. So they never have it
Absolutely.
as year before month and whatnot.
Okay. Well done, Ife. Yeah. So I hope that is understood. But you see, it's not about just um, the theoretical aspect of it. Yep. Who's speaking?
It could also be it could also be addresses, at least in the UK. They use the postcode to find out what area you live in, first of all. That's why every time you speak to someone, they would say, apart from the address, what's your postcode? So because they know that you could probably have the same street name in various areas. So they have to go with the postcode. And after they've gotten your postcode, they now go to the street address before they talk about the door numbers.
Thank you, Faye. You see, I want us to know that everything you're learning right now is so key when you are in practice, because there's always a best practice in carrying out data standardization. And during the data entry point, if you make mistake, you can disorganize the entire data. And then you're going to be doing data cleansing. So it's very important. That is at the point of entry. Have you ever seen a format like if you want to have a video data, which format will you store it? Because if
MP3, I'm never sure. Is it MP3 or MP4 or whatever? I'm never sure what the.
You're asking me that question. Their question is being answered. Can everyone answer it, please?
I
What
think
format?
it's MP some.
Can we have a format? She asked a question.
It's MP. Is it MP3? No, MP3, MP4.
I think I know some data are stored in MP4 for video.
Okay.
And then it also depends on the Apple. Some of their things they have a different codec for storing them.
Okay. So then, if it is voice, where do you send it? What format will you store?
MP3.
MP3. Okay. I just asked the question so that you can just remember that. Okay. Like I said, James said it depends on the operating system you're using. They have different kind of storage for video and also for voice. So is any other way you can store any information at all unknown to you?
PDF.
PDF. Okay. What does PDF mean?
Oh, something formats.
Portable document format.
Portable document.
Format. Did you see the word? The last letter say format.
Yeah.
Okay, that is talking about standardization. So what any form of any format of storage of anything? That is known to you every day in your practice?
There's also MKV.
MPEG, that's for what?
MKV.
NKV, what version is that?
MKV is for videos. There are certain movies you download these days that has the subtitle file attached to it. So that combination of the video, the audio track, and the subtitle file is in an MKV format.
That's very, very good. Good to know.
We also have JPEG and PNG for images.
Images, okay, that's good. Any other format?
Yeah, JPEG means Joint Photographic Experts Group.
Okay.
That's what JPEG stands for.
Okay, so will you want to put PDF in JPEG or in a MP4?
You can actually
put a PDF
if you take a screen short of
So if
JPEG.
you
You can
have
make it a
a format,
PDF.
if you have a format for video to be MP4 standardized in your system, in your database, that every video goes in there, every PDF goes in that PDF format. So will you go and store PDF in a
JPEG.
MP4?
Oh no, no.
So that's what we're saying now. So it will not be a best practice if we standardize it that, okay, this one will go here, this one will go there, then you now begin to do it the other way around. That will be a lot if if your system is automated, will automatically raise an alert for you to, have it corrected immediately. Okay.
Mm.
Now, is any other format of storage, that is known to you? Most popular ones? What about Word documents? What about
Yeah,
what,
well,
what about Excel?
Mm.
yeah, you
Those,
have those
those,
ones, but they're
those
not
are our
very,
formats. No, those are
yeah,
formats.
yeah, but they're not very good, are they? Because someone can easily
No,
wipe
well,
stuff
that
off
does
from
not
there.
mean if they say you should store it in that format, you store it in that
Mm,
format. We're not talking, then you can, why
well,
is it not
that's
good?
true.
You can secure it anyway, you can encrypt any document.
Back in the
So,
days, we had things like DVD and CDs back in the day,
mhm,
and what do you call the memory sticks?
yeah.
But
So,
those are prone to defects or damage.
Physical damage.
Yeah,
yes,
they are
yes,
very prone to that. So cloud, that's why what's it called from is it Informatica? They are more into
Hmm.
clouding and
this
because
thing, data
even
cloud storage now.
that
Yeah,
they did that last year anyway.
but they were the first forms of physical storage formats before cloud came out. So we used them for a number of years before they decided that they were not very good.
That is a
They were not
storage
very good
facility.
ways
Those
of
are all
storing.
storage facility. We're talking about
Yeah,
formats now. Okay,
they're
now
also
let
called
me.
physical. They're also called physical storage formats.
Okay, yeah. Now let me. Have you heard of the word best practice before?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is best practice, everyone?
Uh, so best we talked about it earlier on. We talked about what is the best method or best way of doing things, best guidelines that is more efficient and more effective.
Okay. What is
For,
best
for
practice?
example, for example, now cloud storage formats are best practice more than physical storage formats of before.
So, what is best practice by definition then?
For me, best practice will be guidelines or methods that are accepted as being effective or more efficient.
Okay. Thank you so much. If you have another person,
So, best practice in data governance is establishing a framework for managing data and ensuring data quality.
of course, all the things we're doing is just to make sure we ensure quality so that data can have integrity and produce the value that is expected. Okay, which is
Mhm.
coming close. The word best practice is the most acceptable. I want you to write it down wherever you are because in all these things we are doing or the training we're having, without best practice, the kind of most of the interviews that come is based on best practice and ethics. So they want you to know how you can apply all theoretical analysis to practical action. Let us know about that. It's about best practice. The best practices is actually the most universally accepted practice that has produced the most superior result compared to alternatives, including update. So if you already having a practice that is best and you do not update yourself to be higher, your practice is obsolete. So it goes with standards, goes with criteria to which you measure your practice, whether it's in line with the corporate goals that you tie your program up to. Because if you do not have that bread practice even updated, then you may be running behind expectation with this ever evolving contemporary issues in the digital world in context. So it's very important. Best practice is the most universal accepted practice that have actually produced the most superior result compared to all alternatives available, including updating. That's my definition, because I actually put the word including updating because, if you say, oh, this is best practice, and meanwhile you are not updated, that shows even in construction industry or any other sector, there's always standards and updated standards. So if you are working with an obsolete standard and you do a construction, or they see that, oh, you're using old standard and you think you are doing best practice, it's obsolete. So that's why I put the word updating. So always remember that. So in data standardization, there are steps and best practice you carry out. Okay. And first of all, one of the best practice, you must understand data needs. What the data needs are. You must understand, have insight into reality. First of all, you carry out an action by what you do in conducting a comprehensive review of your existing data that you have, and examine how data is currently organized and stored, and its format in terms of variation over a period of time. And also you could overcome any inconsistency. So the outcome of carrying out such action is to identify discrepancies in terms of data organization at the point where especially or specifically areas where standardization is needed to support the business objectives and decision-making process. Very, very important. And one of the best practice you could also carry out is to evaluate data entry points. At the point of you putting data in, you need to carry an action. How do you do that? You actually perform a detailed analysis of each source, especially when you want to integrate data during your analysis, each source from which data enters your system. Where are they coming from? This actually includes the data for accuracy, right from the ones, one of those quality dimension, data dimension quality, accuracy, ensuring it matches, in the required formats. You can see a video file coming in and you just want to store it in MP3. It might not really all go well in that form. So it's very, very important that you carry out those steps and right from the day one. Okay. So those are our best practice. You set a standard, for your standardization. That standard must be adhered to. And also if there are data inaccuracy, you put them out. That's by cleansing the data yourself. So very, very important. Then you set up automation. When any data coming in that is not in line with the format, then they will be alert. And that's the best practice of standardization. Okay?
Is backing up data not one of the best practices?
Sorry?
Backing up data.
Oh, yeah. Very, very
Regularly
important.
back up data. That's a best
Very,
practice.
very, very important. Very, very important. Because it's one of the standards you have to set. Because if you don't set that standard, your standardization will not be okay. Very important. Thank you for pointing that out. Then we also talk about scalability. It's one of the principles that we must ensure that it must take place. So then, no matter how the data you are handling, you have to have a robust data architecture that is a design and that is um, that can accommodate the complexity of data you are having at a time, especially when you are migrating from one platform to another, and that's called scalability. And it should be capable of expanding the storage, processing power, your integration capabilities that are ever evolving. So when you try to integrate many data sets to be unified and for proper usefulness, so you must also have a robust architecture to accommodate such complexity of data you're going to have. Like when Lewis mentioned about Informatica, or what they did last year, they moved from their own big database to cloud, and it cost them a lot, and they have to do a lot of policy, a lot of scalability, architectural design to accommodate such complexity and the scalability that they have. Scalability means that you're migrating. You scale from one platform to another. Remember that, because there will be a question in most cases in interview telling you, okay, now if we have to move from one platform to another, one that question is scalability. Okay, if your hands up.
An example I was going to give of data scalability is, for example, using Amazon as an example. They handle a lot of data because a lot of things pass through Amazon warehouses. They have millions of customers' accounts, other history and preferences, and millions of products with their descriptions and images and also reviews. So their challenge in Amazon lots of times is the high amount of traffic, especially when you have things like Black Friday, how to handle that. So the system they have is such a system that is able to process and store vast amounts of data efficiently, because you can imagine people in all the 7 continents of the world trying to order stuff on Black Friday, and all these have to go to Amazon being one of the, I'm sure there are lots of other storage kind of facilities, but Amazon being one of the world's largest one, have systems in place to make sure they're able to distribute, store, and process this data of customers efficiently across. So they have quite a number of servers which they use, and they also have infrastructure and services to support, because every day a lot of people prefer to buy online nowadays than actually going into the shops. In fact, because of that, a lot of shops are shutting down. So they have systems in place able to handle these large amounts of data and all that. So this is what scalability is all about. So using all sorts of techniques to make sure traffic and processing goes efficiently and smoothly. Recently, there was Marks and Spencer said there was a 300 million pounds loss on their system because they had to stop people from ordering them online because their data had been compromised. So I don't know if that had anything to do with the kind of servers they had. I don't know if that had anything to do with their scalability.
It is, because when they, initially, sorry to come in, initially, Master Spencer wasn't really proper online, and when they came in, because of after COVID, they came in seriously, and when they came in, I don't think they are capable. From my knowledge, I could see that they do not have a robust, security. Protection that kind of robust enough to handle their data. The handling. If not, it will be so difficult for them to come in. And now they are still holding them to ransom. So they need the poor Ekene to go there and solve their problem. They should pay him. Okay. Yeah. So they are still having a problem right now.
Yeah, that's a massive, massive loss to Marks and Spencer. £300 million is no joke.
They divert their platform to another. So if you order from there, you're just paying money and you may not have your goods anyway.
Goods
So,
delivered, yeah.
so people are just getting to keep people's money because the data have been compromised. Okay, Louis, your hand is up.
Yes, sir. Let me lower my hand. Okay,
Thank
another
you.
scalability or issue which I have encountered at my place of work is when companies use softwares that are in link to cloud and transferring data from here to there. A downside to this is the effect itself. I think every company goes through this. No matter how robust or how good a software is, until it's being put into the tests or into the field, that's when you know the capability. And such softwares are actually prone to be reconfigured to meet the company's needs. And sometimes even when the engineers or data governance or stakeholders put in their needs, other things arises that needs to be incorporated. E.g., we have a new software on our company that we're using right now, but as much as they were so happy about this new software, we encountered loads of problems, not just yesterday, even today. A majority of it was the software working with other softwares that we used to transfer data, and it had a down effect on us because the managers could tell us that, okay, we're not working at our full effect at the moment due to downplay of these new so-called softwares. And it affects, and it is cost effective, but these are things companies put in place. And bear in mind, other data going, so bear in mind this could happen, but there is a set target for this to be met, or plans put in place to mitigate such issues to moving forward. So when you talked about scalability, I did have an experience about that today.
Yeah, so it's very important, and that's why you can explain it, yeah, because you're dealing with post data. So thank you so much for the contribution, and I like a situation where everyone need to contribute, and have a more interactive section, knowing fully well that because scalability is the capacity of a system that you use in the enterprise or any organization to support growth, okay, or maybe to manage an increasing volume of work that is coming. When you talk about volumes of work, is that the data that are involved are very, very complex. So when a system having workload and the scope rises every time, it should be able to maintain and even, improve its performance and efficiency, and of course, dependability. So when that is no more dependable, so scalability inevitable, very, very inevitable. So, but what we must understand, it helps in managing the growth of the company, and in terms of also increasing the performance of the system, of the data that are involved, and ensuring availability of data when needed. And like what if Louis said, cost effectiveness is very important. The system helps in having cost effectiveness, especially when you're doing optimization. In your standardization, if you do the advocacy in the beginning or your initial, design or maybe of your roadmap. So you're doing optimization, you need to consider cost effectiveness and encourage innovation for new system coming in place. But how to achieve it, it requires a lot. So in a practical way, can have vertical scaling, and this is also known as scaling up, refers to the process of increasing the capacity and the capabilities of an individual hardwares that are available and the software that are, using operating systems. Those are vertical scaling up. They have so many ways of doing that. But the important thing is that We know it has advantages and also have disadvantages, of course, especially when you don't have a budget to that effect before that takes place. You need to, be finding where you can get money to get that scalability done because it requires a lot of policies to so robust enough to meet every stages of don't forget data governance. You need to be acquainted with how to draft policy and how you can also develop more policies to meet up with ever involving contemporary issues that are rising in your program. If your hand is up.
Yeah, can we say those checkout machines they put in a lot of shops nowadays a way of
Scaling.
Scaling, but of course we have so many issues with those machines because I don't know, the human checkout points seem to be better than those machines. They were meant to be there to help shoppers more, but you find that a lot of times they keep going blip 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 because
No
they're
matter
not
how you,
working. They
no
were
matter
not
how
working
you
the way you want them
expect
to
it.
work. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you have more checkout humans, till handlers standing at that point to help shoppers like myself to get their stuff in and out
Yeah.
because the machines are failing at all.
Absolutely. I want you to understand that that's what I kind of a little bit refer to. We developing, sometimes when you put a system in place, you might first of all initially put it in place just to test run it. There will be feedback. Okay. And when the feedback or they work on it every day, that's why you see that there will be new ones or new development, so many things included, even the phone you use today or the operating system is solely be updated. And if you don't keep up with the operating system, your old phone will be slowing down and having some issues. So also in scalability. So also when you are migrating, you should know that you are trying to handle complex data. The complexity of it matters. It could be easier to implement in the beginning as it involves upgrading in a single machine. But as time goes on, we don't know whether that machine can meet up with the standard required. Okay. We also more complex as it requires managing multiple machines as well if you need to take care of. But the limitation is by the hardware capabilities sometimes of maybe a single server or if unless you move into cloud. It's very, very important. And, there are always limitations, but there's a data governance. You need to understand that your needs in order to ensure the performance of your scalability in your program, creating the value that you expect, and that is where people will buy into. Okay. So is that understood, everyone? Is that understood? Okay.
For me,
Can we talking about data security? If we talk about data security, what comes to your mind? If we talk about data security in terms of
I don't want it to be as if it's only myself and madam that are talking.
Yeah, so I'm
Mm.
asking, so very important. Thank you, Ife. So when we talk about data security, what are we talking about? We have ego done, and we have Paul there, and blessing, anti-blessing.
Yeah.
If we talk about data security,
Data security is protecting data from unauthorized access.
okay, unauthorized access. So what do you mean by
So
unauthorized access? Can you give me an example of
people, an example would be, say, an outsider trying to access my information with a data system. So if that person is not being there, is not authorized to have that information, even within the same organization, it will deny that person. So it's kind of securing my data.
Good. Good. Yeah. Any other person?
Data security.
Hmm.
An
The answer.
example is Yahoo Boy trying to access my system.
Ah,
I know Madam will go to this Yahoo boys. What are you doing? Sorry, everyone. We've had this class before.
so, anybody?
Dad's belly. Stop that.
Yeah. Anybody? Okay. Any other person? Hello? Yeah. I think
Using encryption methods or passwords to protect data.
who is speaking? Is it James?
No, that's me.
And Madam is still talking. Madam, let them talk now.
Mhm. So I just want us to relate, how we look at just the definition and also the practical aspect of it. Okay? We know that data security is the practice of protecting digital information. Okay, and from unauthorized access, like what Paul said, authorized access, corruption, and even theft throughout its entire life cycle. And so we know it's also crucial for compliance with regulations and safeguarding organization reputation. But then the thing is, how do we carry out, uh, data security? It's one of the components anyway in your program, in any program or data governance program. So how do you do that? You have a protection measure, protective measures to secure. For example, if in organization and we have the accounting department and also we have HR, we have maintenance department. So maintenance department requested a data of Paul from accounting department, especially the account detail. Will you, as an accountant, will you give the data freely to the maintenance manager?
No.
Why?
Now, reason this being is data in every organization, data security is carried out by limiting access on a need to know basis. Indirectly, I'll put in an example. My boss who has a higher clearance to data may not have access to the kind of data I have, or authorizing or actioning a policy. Now, from his end, he can only ask me, and I am authorized to ask him, why are you asking for this, for me to do this? He has to give me a valid reason, and that will because it is my ID that is on that system because I'm entrusted to action the policy on these companies or whatever it is. So him asking me to do this, I have to ask him a question, or even if another company calls me to put in a request, they have to go through DPA checks with me. I have to know who they are talking about. And whereby I see they are not giving me valid information, I have to speak to the stakeholder itself, which is the customer, to see
Okay.
if they have full knowledge of this. So it's more of a need to know basis on how you action data. And that's how we protect data generally in companies.
Okay. So how will you ask the person? How will you ask the person?
Okay, dealing with the customer directly or a company, there's the DPA checks we go through, which is, for instance, your policy number, your Could be the address of the company, whose name was on the company, who requested it initially, and the order
How will
number,
you how
or
will you
whatever
how
it
will you
is.
how will you do that? How will you do that? Just take the scenario, take a Paul Kenneth scenario now. Is an engineer, for example, working
Okay, for
in the general
instance,
department, and in not meeting you, who is the head of the accounting department. So to bring the accounting detail of Paul. You from your explanation, how will you do it?
okay, for instance, if another department is asking me for information for Paul or wherever, first of all, I'm going to ask them, can you please quote the social number? I have to validate that. I have Paul, there's so many Paul, maybe Paul John. There's so many Paul Johns on the system.
He
You
gives
have
you
to give,
he gives you the whole detail of
he
who
gives me the whole
everything,
details.
the
I'll
details
now
of
validate
it.
him himself,
How
what
will you do
department.
how will you do it?
I'll validate the person calling himself and see also by imputing that on the system as well.
How will you do that?
By
Okay, if I may come back to you again. If your hand is up, how will you do that? Taking that scenario and what Louis said.
Yeah, sorry, you were talking about. I
Okay.
missed the scenario. Yeah,
No,
go
okay.
on.
no,
The
about
scenario
taking
is
getting a security check from another colleague or a company person in getting data from you. How do you validate them?
Well, okay. First of all, in my organization, you can't just get information from someone. What they would normally say is inputs. If it's, they will say input your PIN or input your password because the data is encrypted.
the
And
same
then
thing,
when
the same thing Louis said.
Okay.
How will you do that?
Okay. Another way of doing it officially is by sending. Okay. There was
And
I'll put
sending what?
an email.
Okay. Now you
Sending
want
an
me to get
email,
it.
which
a
actually
text,
No,
a
no,
text
no,
message.
text does not, it's not valid for a company. Text does not
okay,
work.
you carry out a program and you draw a program to have authorized access, whether within
Yes.
or not within,
It,
because
how I do that, yes. It's either
look
yeah.
at classification of data.
Mm-hmm.
Classification, I'm not talking about standardization, classification of data. We have data that goes to public relations up, then we have other data that are confidential and other that are classified. Now, at different levels of operation, you are entitled to be custodians of your data, which of course you are a data owner. Okay. Now, any other data owner requesting for the data of another of one of yours from your department, we shall know that they'll keep that data in their custody. So now you have said it, but how will you implement it? It's not, I'm not saying why and what. How will you implement it? It's just by having in your program a format which you need to send to him to fill. It must
Yeah,
be a document. That's
by
why I'm
email.
doing. Then it can be by email, not
An
email.
email, yeah.
Email alone cannot
So
suffice. They can
okay,
fill a form in the document. That form is, they can access that form on requisition to fill the form and send it to you. You need to authorize, and in that form must contain why and what do you need, when and how long. You
Mm.
remember that. Remember that. How long
Yeah.
will you keep the data? What do you want to use it for? And any implication, any third party for those, you have to make that form more robust enough to safeguard you being the custodian of that person's data, and also,
Okay.
and
Pastor,
how long
you
they can
just
keep.
reminded me of a procedure we also go through.
Okay.
For instance, a company from Spain
Mm.
may call and say they need so and so information. Now, normally there's a portal we go through. Even if I'm talking to the person and they validate it, I say, okay,
That's
go through the
correct.
portal,
That's
make
correct.
that request. I'm waiting. I'm looking at it.
That's it.
As soon as you fill in those details, I confirm that I'll give you authorization. You can have those data.
Good. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I
Yeah,
want to
there's
say.
a
So
portal we go through. Yeah.
okay, so this is where I was going to use the online banking system. When they
Okay.
call you from the bank,
Yeah.
and they will tell you to identify who you are. Of course, you too can also tell them to identify who they are, and then they
Of
will
course.
ask you your date of birth and all that, and then they will say they will send you a text or a code for you to go into your online banking. And when you go into
Yes.
your online banking, you will have a text message there saying that so person wants to connect or confirm. Could you confirm that you are so person? But that is, you have to use your PIN or password to go into your online banking to be able to do
Mm.
that confirmation on that text message. This is what I was talking about, the text.
But I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
the
So
one I've experienced with
that
the bank, Pastor, is the bank itself has a portal to of you giving them authorization to look into your account, and the portal will be open, which the portal prompts you an OTP text, which is a series of numbers which you have to call out to them. It will now, you giving them that number and they putting that into the system, will now authorize the banker to have access into your account,
of
and you can
course,
now
of course.
request.
Of course,
Yes, it's a
that we
portal
not
itself.
we are
Yes.
talking about. Thank you so much for those contributions. Well, that in that scenario is quite different from what the scenario I put down. So in scenario I put down is intra. That means within the same company.
Okay,
But
within the same company.
yeah, though you have already said so. Anyway, you later came as a platform that you could authorize such a thing. But external is what two of you have explained, which is also part of the authorized. Anyway, thank you so much for that contribution. Internally as well, there must be a format that put together. There must be in your database program in terms of components and security. Make sure it's a colleague you're dealing with, but that colleague doesn't have that detail. Or he only has detailed names and maybe expertise or maybe qualification of who they are working in the maintenance. But in terms of account detail and even address detail, they may not have it. HRO may have it. So then there must be a form to fill. Why do you need it? How long you will use it for? And who requested? Who is the other person that need to know? Those things depends on how. There's not only one sure way of doing it, but depends on how the company is, but provided the important thing, you must secure, the must secure the access to another person's data by the way you draw your program. Thank you so much. I hope we are learning on this basis. Those who are not contributing now, because at the end of the day, it's very important you contribute to see where we are going. Thank you so much for that. Right. So,
Pastor, these are interview questions. Oh.
they are. I'm not just kind of, it's a serious one. I know where,
Yes,
I know where,
interview
because
questions.
every company want to ask you this question.
They've
Every
asked me
company
before.
answer. I have.
They've
So
asked me.
very, very important. Everybody wants to know how you can secure their data. Okay, very, very important. And this is even security we're talking about. We're not talking about data privacy. This is data security now. So, right, let's move on. Okay, we have data quality assurance. Data quality assurance. Data quality assurance is about implementing validation checks, because you can't have assurance, but is there any assurance? So this is very important. It's about having what you put together. Is it valid? Can it stand test of times? And then you do data cleansing. If there is no assurance in terms of the quality, do data cleansing, data monitoring, before you do your evaluation. You need to do data monitoring, and high quality data is critical for accurate analysis and decision making. Of course, this when you will see this in practice when you're going to be doing a data quality initiative, where you use Power BI or Tableau or MySQL. Okay, for instance, in manufacturing, data quality assurance minimizing production defects and waste, because there is assurance. There's assurance that it can stand the test of time, and so automatically those characteristics of the the raw material, process it to the production end will be void of defects and also waste. And then we move on to flexibility and agility in one of those principles, very important, in designing the framework of data governance. You should put together how you can easily, move towards if there is, I think, if there is a change of direction, you have to be more, agile to be adaptable to accommodate such business needs at a time, especially when you deal with contemporary issues. I do say that daily issues that are ever evolving as a result of economic trends, political trends, social trends, and you need to move swiftly in order to adapt to such agility, ever-evolving situation. As a leader, you need to meet up with such changing. You have to be flexible, don't be too rigid, even your policy, even your decision making. Otherwise, you will not be able to scale yourself to such evolving environments, dynamically, shocking some even businesses up. So you need to, so data governance, your management system, your governance system must be very flexible. Don't be too rigid in it. It's one of the principles. Okay. For example, if iOS brings new software or Android bring new software, and you that have an app that are operating in that system, instead of you to also update your system in order to fix some bugs that may not be able to, that may show up when the new operating system your app is operating with or partnering with, then there's going to be a problem. You need to move very fast. So that's why even when some operating system have changed, every application need to update themselves to meet up with that, involving a digital, updating. Okay, so we have real-world impact in a situation like Amazon. If you made mention of Amazon at that time, employ sophisticated data modeling system, this the architecture, the framework, techniques to analyze user behavior. That means you're always coming in to buy this material. Then the next thing you receive, because you know your preferences, next thing you receive something coming out on your phone or your your email that 3 years ago, 2 years ago, you bought it. This and they say, well, price has changed. And then if your hand is up.
Yeah, I was going to give an example, like even in the healthcare industry, their systems, the hospital changes, they change their system all the time to accommodate patients' needs and emergency situations nowadays. And even in our personal lives, some people work remotely, some people go in once in a week, some people go in twice a week, some people 3 times a week. So things are changing every day. People are working more flexibly. Everything has become more agile, quick turnaround. So those are all examples of agility and flexibility.
Yeah.
Same thing too when it comes to data. So they've moved now from physical hard, how do you call it? Is it hard disks? We used to have hardware, is it hard disks or hard something drive. Now everything is all on cloud. Everything is now backed up on all sorts of cloud systems.
Okay. So thank you so much. Ego Don, have you got any real example of changing? Are you with us here? I can't hear your voice. Princess Rita, I guess. Hello?
Hello, Pastor.
Yeah. So where you at? I think there's echoing. I think two people in one room. Okay. So blessing of Dr. Vine.
What is the question again? I didn't
The
get.
question example of how things are moving and how can you cope with the movement. Like we have Amazon recommendation engine, they employ sophisticated data modeling and they model their techniques in order to analyze behavior or preferences of any customer that is coming. The CRM, that is customer relation management, so that they can cope with ever-evolving digital world. So any platform that is moving very fast and not too rigid, flexible, very flexible. If two people hands are up, Blessing, are you ready to speak? No, or
I didn't really get the question really. I'm trying to come in terms with what you're saying.
okay, we have reward impact based on the architecture modeling, structural modeling to meet up the scalability or to meet up ever evolving situation of the market, manufacturing, or even political, social values or economic. So what, like we use Amazon as an example,
Okay.
and having system in order to meet up with the sophistication of their demands. So any example, even why we can leave you to be thinking about it.
Pastor, my hand has been hanging since, so it's paining me.
Okay, you can speak why blessing waiting for. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, another way of maximizing or dealing with situation in organization, I'll use a case study of like KFC, Morrison, Tesco itself. Now, these areas are areas where volume of people come in to transact on a daily basis, and in terms of speed and pace of how business is done conveniently without affecting the customer in terms of queue and getting access to system services or goods. Now, companies go to the extra mile of even going as further right now, the new verge of transacting and or inventing new ways of transacting, either to contactless service, whereby you can go through a cashless um, checkout, also without dealing with people, and also ordering online, or even when you order online, you don't have to deal with a human being. There are virtual softwares or digital softwares that are out there that validates you, and you place your order and instantly that data is transferred immediately to the stock or whoever or inventory it is, and logistics takes place, and within say an hour or two, your delivery is down to your door. So it saves you time, and a lot of people are involved in technology these days. It's evolving. They even encourage the elderly who are not really strong enough to move into organizations to demand for a service. They make it say, okay, at your doorstep. For instance, Specsavers these days, they go into elderly. It's also actually programmed to elderlies. They go into their homes to do their eye tests, supply them, give them bring a tablet with them. They pick their glasses, and these are delivered to you right at your doorstep without even going out to them. So it's a lot more convenient. Just making the customer a transaction is there itself, but the input of data itself, depending on the area and the capacity of people or amount of demand for that service, this is where data comes in and innovations come in order to make this journey. The essence is to make the journey for the customers less stressful, not to come into a shop. I've seen people who go into shops, they do shopping, And because of the queue, they just drop the trolley and walk away.
Yeah.
They walk away, and that's not a good image for the business.
Yeah, so that means for them to have a good insight,
Exactly.
good
And it goes as
experience,
far as not just the
good
business itself,
experience.
the environment itself. That's why Tesco goes as much. Tesco, also other organizations, they try their best as possible to make parking accessible for our customers, and they even prioritize and say, okay, for instance, you come in, please do. They give you an XX time to quickly go in, which within 3 hours should be more than enough. You should have your service done within less than an hour, but they even maximize it to up to 3 hours to stay in the parking lot to make sure you get what you need and go. So a lot of people are quite happy with that kind of service. Whether they come into an organization or premises, they don't have to rush. They can take their time, get their service done, take their time, go into their car and go. It gives more value to that brand itself. So these are the input of data, and also feedback from the customers gives an insight for data on how data governance can come into implement good gestures that projects the service of the customer, which is the stakeholders' view in terms of the service. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that example as well. Any other person has example? We have example here. We have the one Walmart inventory management as well. We also have healthcare. We've touched this real world impact of data, architecture, because don't forget it's a structural framework that need to put in place to make things simple from one end to another. Both parties, be the company itself and the customer involved, they have good experience, but it has to be robust enough to accommodate the complexity of data you handle and also the insight you want to project, and the customer experience for good reporting, good visualization, good decision making, uh, that's expected to produce the valuable result that we need. Okay. Paul mentioned it is easier these days to synchronize all social media accounts, especially those apps under Meta. Yeah, of course. Barrister says on the pharmacy arranges to deliver prescription at home. People's home, yeah, with the explosion of data, yeah, innovation tech, yeah, AI, machine learning, blockchain, and yeah, of course, please have a opportunity to read through what has been put there. If it said iPhones may be making people buy their products, of course, I know that, very important. Okay, right. So, there are so many scenarios, but the important is a framework. It's like when you want to build a home, you want to build a house, you draw the design, the architectural design, and that architectural design make the house beautiful. That's what it means. So, and the way architectural design was in those days is no more like that. Why? Because things are changing. There's new innovation, new system. So in those days, when you're building a house, you can build a house, you need to go far away to go and get water to mix the concrete. Then some people decide, oh, let's seek borehole. Some people now don't more have borehole. So some people get water from air to have their water reserve in. So there are so many innovations taking place in order to help humanity. And getting in the context of company where data are being handled, we need to make things easier for us to take decisions. And the decision will help in optimizing our businesses. So like Louis mentioned about McDonald's, when you go there in those days, you have to queue. You have to order somebody, you have to prompt you, what do you want to know, what do you want to buy, what do you want to do, what do you pay. But now, with innovation, you're able to have a structure in place that you just go there and do order by yourself, and then you pay there, you sit down, they bring your food to you. So these are the things that we're talking about data management, structural modeling, and principles of how you can carry out your architecture, data architecture. Your hand is up again, Louis.
Be quiet. Yes, Pastor. There are other innovations that are put in place in terms of organization. For instance, the case studies Argos. For instance, you go into Argos, you see prices of things. Yes, they could be high in terms of £100 or £200 or even £300 or £400 or whatever it is. But they put a measure in there by say, okay, they put in prospect that okay, these goods are there. We have to encourage people to get these goods. Another way of putting this across, you cannot tell an average British citizen to come in and just spend £500 at once. Okay, they say, okay, how can we come in to make this happen? Another way is doing this is bringing out things like not just the credit card, the Argos Pay 6 months later program. That way, breaking down the price interest free, which gets the attention of every customer. And that way, people come in and say, okay, the product of this cup costs £100, but in 6 months, I may not even feel it. I may end up just paying, say, £20 a month, which is quite convenient for me. And already and you can have that product immediately once you have the Argos card. And as much as you comply, the credit is being increased. So it's another way of luring people into their market to purchase goods and services. The same thing applies to general aspect of it, which is PayPal, which we have the PayPal credit today. All these things are, I wouldn't say it's a gimmick, but it makes it life a lot more easier in terms they are trying to encourage transactions
Yeah, that's
in
a
different
business.
forms. Yes.
Yeah,
So the
that's a
feedback
business.
of this is that those are innovations put in place. Yes.
Yeah,
Same thing
when you
comes
talk
to
about
insurance itself. Insurance these days, car insurance, the minimum you could see is 1,000, up to even 3,000, even 5,000, depending on how expensive your car is. And they say, okay, if this is the amount, we can break this down, but that is only limited to if you have a good credit rating. They limit it down to a monthly payments. Same thing goes for tax, car tax, which is DVLA. They make it that they either give you two options to pay it fully a year, one off, which at a discount, if it's fully, because they know it's quite expensive, while as they put a slight percentage in it if you're going to break it down in 12 months, which is still convenient for people. So people also take that offer.
yeah,
That
but
way you don't have an excuse not to get your
yeah,
tax done.
yeah, that is business model you're talking about.
Saying,
So
oh,
say that is business model. We're talking about architecture of data. So which of course it can be applicable when you put that kind of data in terms of interest, whatever. If you look at what if you put there, say, buy a beautiful car, pay 5 years double. So that could be incorporated in terms of data interest, but business model, you can come up with business model. Of course, I think I must agree with you because every business needs a business goal, a model require a very good architecture put in place. Things
yes,
of that
that's what
kind.
that was where I
Oh
was trying
yes,
to
I
get
can
in.
see where you're coming from. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
that's
sir.
good. Yeah, thank you so much for that. So I got a minute before I close. So in conclusion, what can someone say about data architecture? In conclusion, I want everyone to talk now for that 1 minute. I want everyone to talk now for that 1 minute. Yeah, Paul said with tears. Oh, can you with tears? Yeah, there's no point of putting yourself in tears when buying things like that. So, where a Lamborghini can go, Okada can go there too. Depends on time. So, no point.
That one we can start an argument. That one.
Yeah, okay. Okay, now let's conclude. I want everyone to talk. What do you learn today? What can you say about data architecture before we go? Yeah. So someone say is a blueprint for how data is managed from connection. You say, okay, yeah, all right, that's barrister. Any other person?
Sir, the whole basis of data architecture just tells us that without the whole blueprint and the framework, that data won't work. If all these things are not set in place, there's nothing you can do about data. There'll be a lot of
Absolutely.
losses.
Absolutely. So, and I know you
I
didn't know.
agree with him, sir. I agree with him.
Thank you. Good. Agree with him. Is that your part of what you learn, eh? Okay, let me call somebody's name. Ramsey, you're there. You know, when it comes to this, you won't be seeing people, you will be running away. So, because I need to know what someone has learned. Ramsey, are you there? Hello? Okay, let me assume that Paul spoke on behalf of everybody. Do we agree that Paul spoke on behalf of everybody and Louis agree with him? Do we say that? Do we
Agree.
Agree, eh?
Yes.
What do you agree for? You don't know now. Yeah? Ego. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for coming. Did you enjoy yourself today?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Pastor, I still want to mention something else again. Hi, everyone. I understand most of us are just getting to know one another in this class. Please, I will encourage. It doesn't matter whether you know it or not. Data governance itself, if you are in for data governance, you have to be interactive. Regardless of whether you know it or not, you have to be. If you are quiet in observing and not giving feedback, imagine what will happen when you are being interviewed by 3 to 4 people. And these, especially now, you have the audience of our pastor here and also our lecturer and a barrister here as well. If you are being interrogated, imagine being in an environment where you are being interrogated by people you do not know. You're just meeting them for the first time. Your nerves will take the best of you, and which could lead you forgetting things you actually studied. It's a good thing to warm up to speak and interact with people when it comes to data governance itself. So I do encourage, when questions are spoken out, instead of you just observing and say what you know or say what you think you know, and it opens the door into your mind on how you can incorporate data governance into your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Louis. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And those who have not received literature, please send your email. I've seen email from someone already.